With just a month left until conference tournaments begin, college hoops season has begun to turn a corner and NBA teams have a steady grasp of the player pool at this point. Time and again, players have ridden strong final months to gain momentum going into the pre-draft process, and it's too soon to really speculate on March Madness, but point being, things are going to get much more serious from here. The shape of the 2019 draft remains somewhat uncertain at this stage, given that beyond the top 3 or 4 players, there's a less pointed talent gap than in recent years, one that has been somewhat aided by injury and a number of the projected top freshmen all slumping. Apart from Zion Williamson, and to a lesser extent Morant and R.J. Barrett, there aren't many players inspiring a great deal of confidence. At the end of the day, teams have to use their draft picks on somebody, and so parsing through the pack and evaluating on a team-specific basis will be even more crucial than usual in a year where best available might be more of a relative designation. There's still a good deal of talent on this board, particularly in terms of guys who could become quality role players, and so writing it off as an expressly bad class would be premature. As college basketball's platform increases, prospects always set themselves apart. Between in-person scouting evaluations, reviewing statistics and film, and factoring in word-of-mouth from ongoing conversations with NBA personnel, the aim with these rankings is to present a picture that helps better understand which prospects should warrant serious consideration for the 2019 draft, in what order and why, and to responsibly gauge and contextualize prospects' individual outlooks. As always, this list will be fluid over the course of the season and expand again as things clarify in the spring. And a reminder, unlike our mock draft, the big board does not factor in team need or fit. Height, 6 feet 7 inches, weight, 285, age, 18, last ranked 1. As Williamson's college basketball demolition tour continues, his case as the draft's top prospect remains strikingly evident. There's not much to say that hasn't been said. He is hands down the most impactful player in the country, with his immense athletic ability and basketball instincts conduits for easy baskets, transition offense and impact moments on both ends of the floor. Playing downhill with his size, finishing and passing ability, he's almost impossible to defend at the college level, and his skill set appears worthy of engineering a team around. While he is not an outstanding jump shooter, Williamson can simply barrel into the paint, and will draw tons of fouls with the way the NBA game is being called. The possibilities are immense, and he should inject new energy into whichever franchise selects him in June. Height, 6 feet 3 inches, weight, 175, age, 19, last rank, 3. Morant has solidified his status as the most intriguing non-Duke prospect in the country, blending superior passing vision, explosiveness and ball handling and putting together a dominant season. He should have a clear pathway to being the first guard selected, and deservedly so. Though his athleticism has been touted, Morant takes over games with skill and feel, and has the type of ability to anchor an up-tempo NBA offense. His jumper continues to improve, and his turnover rate is excusable given his heavy usage. His mistakes tend to be aggressive, rather than careless. Morant's play impacts winning in myriad ways, and he's turned Murray State into a tournament-caliber team. If the Racers can make the tournament, he'll have a massive platform to show off his game. It's not a stretch to think he could be drafted this high, particularly given how many lottery teams have holes at point guard. Height, 6 feet 7 inches, weight, 200, age, 18, last rank, 2. Barrett's scoring totals have been consistent all season, but it's his means of achieving those ends that continue to draw some scrutiny as teams try to feel out how efficient a scorer he can become. Fair or not, his occasional struggles continue to be magnified on some level playing next to Williamson. Barrett remains a notably intense competitor, and all things considered has played well through a huge workload. He'll be able to score in the NBA, but the biggest question is whether you can hitch a winning offense to his style of play. If he's willing to adjust, and if his jump shot can improve, he has the ability and intangibles to become a standout. While he may not be as safe a prospect as advertised, it's not Barrett's fault that preseason expectations seemed to be set a little too high. He remains a likely top 3 selection at this point. Height 6 feet 8 inches, weight 220, age 19, last rank 4. While Reddish continues to flash his considerable talent level on a game-to-game basis, his overall impact on games remains inconsistent. None of that is surprising based on his track record, and the manner in which his skill set slides neatly into the modern NBA continues to pique interest high in the draft. It's a red flag that his offensive efficiency has been subpar despite being placed in a situation where he should be thriving next to talented teammates, but at his best, he's still a tantalizing prospect. His size, ability to pass and shoot, and his defensive versatility are all strengths. Dating back to high school, scouts have wondered whether he is wired to compete night to night at the highest level, and Reddish will need a strong finish to the season to try and shift that reputation. He remains a likely early selection despite his struggles. Mahoney, the East Arms race is now in full effect. Height 6 feet 7 inches, weight 220, age 19, last rank 6. After a slow start, Little's play has taken a slight uptick over the past few weeks. He remains an appealing player from a physical perspective, and his comfort level in UNC's offense has improved. He's strong and toolsy, finishes well around the rim, but as a late-blooming high school prospect still has a ways to go in terms of feel. Little is gifted, but his game does not always feel intuitive. Still, as teams hunt for wings to develop near the top of the draft, he remains intriguing enough to consider in this range as someone who could shoot and defend at a high level long-term. His off-dribble skill impact needs to expand for him to become a dynamic offensive player, and there's some risk involved, but Little still has time to strengthen his case. Little left UNC's game against Virginia with an ankle injury. Height 6 feet 3 inches, weight 170, age 18, last rank 8. The fact that Garland's draft situation remains tenable despite his early season injury points to the high degrees of uncertainty revolving around so many of the projected lottery-caliber prospects. While Morant has made a meaningful case to be the first point guard drafted, it's likely Garland ends up as the second, with his range hinging more on positional need and the eventual lottery sequence. He is a gifted playmaker and shooter who has consistently gotten the most out of ostensibly average athletic tools, but will need time to further his development as a floor general before he can be fully entrusted to run an offense. The NBA's success of skilled, high IQ guards like Mike Conley, or to a lesser extent, even the longevity of someone like Jeff Teague, helps chart the course for Garland to be successful. There is some concern over how his thin, smallish build will hold up long-term and some degree of debate over where his actual ceiling lies, but Garland should have a good chance to carve out an NBA career after he recovers. He is expected to be ready to work out for teams in the spring. Height 6 feet 5 inches, weight 195, age 19, last rank 10. Culver and the Red Raiders have lost a little steam in conference play, but what he's done this season remains highly impressive. He continues to showcase a strong feel for the game, solid tools and what is generally perceived as a bankable value floor as an NBA player, and without him, Texas Tech likely wouldn't be a tournament team. Still, Culver is playing as a primary shot creator more out of necessity than best fit. He is neither an elite athlete nor an elite jump shooter, particularly off the dribble, which makes it hard to buy him as a worthy top 5 selection or future star. However, he will not need to be a primary ball handler in the NBA, and as a big wing with a steadying effect on both sides of the ball, Culver should be plenty useful to whoever drafts him. Height 6 feet 5 inches, weight 220, age 18, last rank 5. There's a significant risk profile attached to Porter amid a roller coaster of a freshman season, but scouts who have evaluated him in person remain bullish on his talent level. He's been injured and suspended as the Trojans have struggled, but based upon his sheer ability with the ball in his hands, Porter can only be allowed to slip so far. He has some work to do to solidify his range here, as his performances have been scattershot and his minutes limited since returning. Still, he can do some things most people can't do from a finishing and playmaking standpoint. He is inarguably a lottery talent, and will tempt teams with need for another scorer as a risk-reward proposition. Provided whoever drafts him can put him in a development-focused environment and keep him on track, Porter could still be a steal if he falls. Height 6 feet 6 inches, weight 215, age 19, last rank 7. Indiana's complete backslide in Big Ten play has created more reason for pause with Langford, who remains a likely lottery pick but has struggled individually as well, with his lows being somewhat pronounced. While the Hoosiers aren't trotting out a wealth of talent, Langford's play has not consistently made his teammates better, and that coupled with his ball-dominant and sometimes predictable style raises concerns. His physical tools and finishing skills are still promising, and he can be a good defender when engaged, but his struggles shooting the ball from outside make for a difficult sell, as well. Langford has some work to do over the next month to maximize his stock. Height 6 feet 11 inches, weight 220, age 18, last rank 20. Although he will undoubtedly be a project upon arrival in the league, Hayes looks like an extremely attractive blank slate for teams to develop and now has a legitimate chance to be the first center drafted in June. As a late bloomer with high-caliber physical tools, natural instincts defending the basket and touch around the rim, Hayes has the potential to check every box for a five-man who doesn't shoot jumpers. His offensive contributions are functionally limited and his rebounding can be a bit inconsistent, but it will work in his favor that while many more heralded freshman bigs have struggled, he's held his own. It doesn't take a lot to project Hayes as a useful rotation player and potential starting big down the line, and he has made a terrific case as a surprising one-and-done candidate. Height 6 feet 8 inches, weight 230, age 21, last rank 11. Hachimura continues to intrigue teams with his NBA tools and efficient scoring, and the continued progress of his jump shot is a big key to projecting his value going forward. He's shot it sparingly from outside, but if he can become a consistent three-point threat, which based on his rapid development in other areas and demonstrable shooting touch, seems possible, he should be able to maximize his skill set as a four-man. He is less explosive than he is strong and smooth, but will be able to keep up physically at the next level. There's still room for improvement with Hachimura in terms of diversifying his offense, and his defensive effort is solid, although his awareness can be inconsistent. His upside certainly warrants an investment in this range. Height 6 feet 8 inches, weight 230, age 18, last rank 13. Having recently returned from a thumb injury, there's a real opportunity for Doumbouya to inch upward in the draft if he can sell teams on his long-term potential, particularly as so many college players in this range have tread water. His tools, shooting potential, and long-term role fit as a skilled four-man are all still intriguing, and it's key to remember that he will likely be the youngest player drafted. With that in mind, it's also important not to overreact to his slower adjustment to France's top level. His stats and minutes aside, Doumbouya should be able to make up for lost time going forward simply by reminding teams what he can do. As an athletic, potentially versatile two-way forward, he's plenty interesting. Height 6 feet 6 inches, weight 210, age 19, last rank 12. Johnson has always been a player whose value lies in his floor as a likely contributor, and he's been steady if not spectacular for the Wildcats this season. His three-point shooting has been encouraging, his competitiveness runs high, and there are no glaring holes in his skill set. Johnson is somewhat mature physically and is not extremely explosive or wiggly off the bounce, which points to a more limited ceiling than some of the players ahead of him on this list, but there's a lot to like about his game, particularly given the demand for wings who play both ends. He should present bankable value in this range of the draft. Height 6 feet 7 inches, weight 225, age 21, last rank 1400. Plays a strong fundamental game and has been a fairly consistent performer for Virginia, particularly on defense, where his strength and agility set him apart. He's unflashy and doesn't need a ton of manufactured touches to be effective, and his jump shot has shown some improvement, although he is not a high-volume threat from outside. His lack of facility off the dribble as a shooter and creator makes it hard to envision star upside, but his pronounced strengths make him a good bet to fill a role at the NBA level. Athletic, wing-sized players who can guard multiple positions and hit open threes will always have value, and that's more or less what Hunter provides. Height 6 feet 9 inches, weight 215, age 19, last rank 15A. Toolsy wing player with a clean-looking jumper, Ekpala continues to trend upward, and justifiably so. He's rebounded from an iffy freshman season, and it doesn't appear he'll have to hang around college much longer. He's very slender and has to continue filling out, but has done a lot of growing dating back to high school and has retained some of his point guard skills, including strong vision as a passer. Ekpala's shooting and defensive feel bode well, and coupled with his length and ability to switch screens on the other end, there's plenty of untapped upside here. After beginning the season as more of a curiosity, he's widely viewed as a first-round caliber prospect, in hopes he develops into a versatile rotation piece. Height 6 feet 5 inches, weight 185, age 18, last rank 18. In midst of an impressive season, White is tracking as a one-and-done caliber prospect, showing improvement as a passer and decision-maker to go on top of his ability as a microwave scorer. He has legit size, and though he's not a pure point, he can play passably on or off the ball. White is still learning to pick his spots and score efficiently and is not overly explosive getting into the paint, which coupled with a lack of ideal spacing in UNC's offense has made him into primarily a jump shooter. Defensively, he's a work in progress. Context considered, White has a knack for scoring the ball, turns 19 next week, and has the type of talent worth developing. Why Bol might be the draft's biggest gamble. Height 7 feet 2 inches, weight 235, age 19, last rank 9. Bol's season is over as he recovers from a foot injury that may stand as another red flag afflicting his resume. While in terms of sheer talent he can justify a lottery selection, the implications of foot issues for guys his size coupled with long-term health concerns that stem from his body type are all pointing in the wrong direction. As such, it will be difficult for many teams to justify committing a high selection here when considering the risk. We're already concerns stemming from his work ethic and NBA fit. Put simply, he is so slender he can be bullied on the inside, and even with a clean recovery, Bol remains more or less what he's always been, a wild card. The possibility of developing Bol into a unique, floor-spacing rotation big should help him maintain first-round status, but in his case it's difficult to feel secure. Height 6 feet 5 inches, weight 205, age 20, last rank 21. Alexander Walker has bounced back nicely from his uneven freshman season and seems ticketed for a selection somewhere in the middle of the first round. Although he's not exactly an alpha scorer, he's been more aggressive overall and is shooting especially well from outside. Alexander Walker is an ambidextrous finisher and has an ideal skill set for a combo guard, with size and a good understanding of how to play. He's an opportunistic defender with nice instincts. He can still be mistake-prone with the ball, and his assist-to-turnover ratio leaves something to be desired. He is likely going to have to play the 2 as his primary position going forward. Height 6 feet 11 inches, weight 245, age 19, last rank 25. Bitadze drew interest as high as the late first round last season but opted to stay overseas, and has continued to impress as a highly productive pro at his age. While it's harder for big-bodied, below-the-rim centers in his archetype to log heavy minutes in the current NBA, his improving skill set and strong feel for the game give him a chance to make the leap successfully. He has been extremely productive this season, and has handled himself well in EuroLeague play, as well. Bitadze is a pretty natural scorer around the basket, capable passer and strong shot blocker, and continues to make a good first-round case. Height 6 feet 10 inches, weight 235, age 20, last rank 29. It's been a banner year for Fernando's growth, and even with Maryland's recent inconsistency, it's never been more apparent that his physical ability, motor and intangibles create a degree of long-term NBA floor for him. He should be ready to log some minutes right away, and should be able to fit into a less demanding offensive role that better suits him. Many of the immediate concerns with Fernando's game stem from occasionally stiff post-up play and turnover issues, but realistically, he's not a guy you'll want to run things through at the next level anyway. If you think of him as Diet Clint Capella, running the floor, finishing and protecting the basket and moving his feet effectively in space, his NBA fit is obvious. He has looked the part as a first-rounder. Height 6 feet 4 inches, weight 215, age 19, last rank 17. As Arizona State has plateaued somewhat in conference play, the holes in Dort's game have become more pronounced. He remains a first-round talent, but his outside shooting and decision-making skills are still questionable. He's built like a tank and has been able to overpower college defenders with his heft and explosiveness as a straight-line driver, and his base level of athletic ability gives him a good chance to find some level of NBA success. Dort is not a particularly creative finisher in traffic and doesn't have a very good left hand, and his approach barreling into the paint will only go so far at the next level, but the fact that he has such an easy time getting there in the first place is still a substantial strength. Defensively, his bulk helps him with larger wings, but will also keep him from sticking with quicker guards at the next level. The hope is he buys into a role and can get his three-point shot to a passable place long-term. Height 6 feet 7 inches, weight 230, age 20, last rank 22. Washington is playing the most consistently productive ball of his career at the moment, and while he's not a huge upside guy, it's pretty clear his base set of skills makes sense together when projecting forward. He's mobile, bouncy, and his rebounding, passing and defensive positioning enable him to impact games even when he's not scoring. Washington has always been a sound finisher, and his jump shot continues to improve. His three-point range has looked more convincing of late, as well. From a role player perspective, he has a lot to offer. Height 6 feet 4 inches, weight 240, age 18, last rank 23. Following a January swoon, Horton Tucker has begun to bounce back as a catalyst for the Cyclones and continues to showcase first-round caliber talent. Some scouts still have questions about his positional fit at the NBA level, but Horton Tucker is one of the better guards in college hoops when it comes to scoring and playmaking on the move, and continues to improve playing without the ball, as well. He uses long strides, long arms and soft touch to attack the basket and finish in traffic, has natural playmaking talent off the dribble and is a capable, though streaky, three-point shooter. Horton Tucker will need to continue working on his body as he matures, and might be able to unlock more of his explosiveness and agility by doing so, which would benefit his game on both ends. His game should be attractive to creative teams in search of shot creation. Height 6 feet 11 inches, weight 235, age 19, last rank 19. Porter remains out for the season as he recovers from tearing his ACL and MCL, an unfortunate turn of events after he surprised NBA teams by deciding to return to school. Although it's going to be difficult for him to play his way upward in the draft, he has a terrific feel for the game and strong pass dribble shoot skill set for a big. Some teams had doubts about his athleticism last season, and Porter will need to use the time off to work his way into peak shape by the time workouts come around in the spring. Because his success has always been more predicated on his skill, the injury may not sap his effectiveness much, but there's still some risk built in there. He still has a good case as a first-round talent. 5 mid-major NBA draft prospects to watch. Height 6 feet 11 inches, weight 235, age 20, last rank 16. For better or worse, Gafford has been more or less the same player as last season, just with additional offensive volume. While he remains a first-round type prospect, teams have begun to nitpick his game a little bit. While his length, fluidity and finishing skills will make him of interest to teams that like to spread the floor around their 5 men, Gafford is more smooth and lanky than he is functionally explosive, and his feet and hands at times just look average. He's a quality shot blocker, but with his slender build and so-so lateral mobility, he can't necessarily be expected to hold his own in the post or defending ball screens. Still, Gafford won't need heavy post-up touches to be effective as a finisher, rebounds the ball well, and will have a chance to provide value through those defined strengths. Height 6 feet 10 inches, weight 210, age 19, last rank 24. Samanik has begun to settle in, becoming a full-time starter and beginning to produce more consistently on the glass. He requires projection, but his legitimate versatility and high skill level relative to his size and age. As a face-up big who can shoot from outside, play-make and handle, Samanik comes with a lot of long-term upside, and would be an ideal stash candidate if he's willing to remain in Europe. Concerns remain over his skinny build and who he might defend at the NBA level, but he's a fascinating flyer at the moment who could further strengthen his stock in workouts, particularly in a draft like this where the talent discrepancy is not especially wide after a certain point. Height 6 feet 5 inches, weight 195, age 19, last rank 34. Kentucky's improved play has been a good platform for Harrow to showcase his skill set, and he's taken advantage. His ability to make difficult shots from deep and play make a little on the side has always been endearing, and he plays with a bit more toughness than is generally advertised. Harrow has also cut back a bit on his tendency to over-dribble, and profiles as a potentially dangerous supporting scorer on the perimeter. His body type doesn't have much appeal from an NBA standpoint, and he might be a liability defensively as such. Harrow's overall knack of the offensive side of the ball will still earn him an opportunity, potentially toward the later part of the first round. Height 6 feet 5 inches, weight 170, age 18, last rank 28. Although he has not made much of an impact in the scoring column at all this season, teams have begun to take notice of Halliburton's other contributions within the context of Iowa State's success. His minimal offensive usage rate masks his role as a primary offensive conduit for the Cyclones, always making the right pass, rarely turning the ball over, and ensuring his higher-profile teammates are put in good positions to score the ball. Halliburton has exceptional vision and elite instincts on both sides of the ball. His feel for where the ball should go and ability to enhance transition play is elite, and despite shooting a strictly set jumper right now, he's been making threes at a convincing clip. As he gets stronger, his game will only expand. Returning to school should allow him to improve his draft stock, but he's put himself in good position to at least test the waters this season. We don't have a complete sense of how he scores the ball yet, but the things he does extremely well are difficult to teach. Height 6 feet 2 inches, weight 185, age 19, last rank 31. Jones continues to be a rock-solid if unspectacular contributor for Duke, and his maturity and unselfishness are traits that will serve him well at the NBA level. He understands where the ball is supposed to go and doesn't have to score a lot to impact the game.